Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Nice to see you here. Some people asked me a couple months ago how I came up with a solution for the A times B over C squared. And I told them that I had just basically sequestered myself for about 6 days and didn't come out of my room until I had an answer. That was about all I could say because I really didn't remember. It had been a year before. And start out by telling you, without guides from Omi and Eli, I would have no chance of doing any of this. And all the work everybody has done before me and players who have helped me, you know, that's just meant everything to me because I don't have a science background. I've always worked blue collar jobs throughout my life. And I came at this from the approach of gaming. So to me, it was just fun and a challenge of puzzles, and the puzzles got harder and harder. And so for that period of time, a year ago, I had 6 days to try to put some things together, and I made some kind of logic at that point. But right now, most of it escapes me, and my notes were never that great. And I at one point threw those aside and just started working. But I put a link to this on my profile page on EteRNA if anybody wants to go back to this, any new players especially with these things. But this guide was from Ome and Eli from probably a couple years ago. I don't remember exactly. This is what got me considering. Wonder why I did that. But I just wanted to show the guide where I started considering these oligos. And what I started with in here was this sensor, I think it was sensor B or sensor A off. Let's look at this one. But like WH Bob was talking about yesterday with these kernel attractors and the reverse complements necessary to make these types of switches work. So I didn't ever even read this entire paper. I mean, I kind of gleaned some parts of it that could get me going on these A-B puzzles. And to me, I look at myself, I'm like a tinkerer, you know, and when I see these papers and hear people at these conferences, I understand about 20%, hopefully, of what's going on. And if it goes over my head, I don't stress about it, you know. I'm just happy to understand what I do end up getting. But so let's go back to where we were here. Okay, so that's the one guide that helped me out. The next one, this is from Eli, his OpenTB lab guide that he put out. And for the first day when wow, that didn't I don't know what happened there. Anyway, for the I got a link to this anyway too on this page, but it starts out showing the logic that was involved with these logic gates, and it explains it through these people making these computers with domino puzzles, because that was the point of this lab, was to make an RNA molecule that
Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the guide. Okay, thank you. Maybe I can put this in present mode. Or is that fine the way it is? Well, anyway, I'm not going to go through this whole guide, but on this this page, there's these links to these domino computers that they made. And I just, I watched these videos over and over again for about a day, you know, just to try to get some grasp of the logic of what was involved in this. Because, you know, my memory's not too great, but if I have long enough to concentrate on something without being interrupted, sometimes I can get the gist of it. So obviously that had some kind of impact on me. And the other thing out of this guide that I looked at was how he drew these concentrations and how he balanced it. Now this guide, what he's talking about isn't the DEC puzzle. He's talking about the ink puzzle, INC puzzle. But I saw similarities in those, and I didn't want to torture your eyes. I would have put my notes up here. So I started drawing this out in just a regular ruled notebook. And at first it didn't work because then I ran out of space. So I had to write really small. I had them all numbered and everything. And I started trying to work with this, putting this together. And I'm never happy doing what somebody else did. So I started trying to put them together in different orders than what I had saw. And I really want to thank Broad, because he showed that it could be solved to me, because in the first round he had the first solution, and I did like a one nucleotide mod of one of his just to get something up on the board. And then there were some other players. I looked at some of Broad's solutions, and Warsees, I think, I don't know if I'm saying that right, that were impressive and showed that people had a way to do this. So I just started writing stuff out on paper, and I paid attention to these concentrations and to this tipping point that Eli was talking about in this paper. So am I back to where I need to be here? Okay. This isn't the A times B over C squared. This is one of the sensor puzzles that came in the round. I think it was, if you look, I think it's getting ready for round 2 is what these were grouped into. But this is one of the ones, mine, that did well. So let's see if we can go to the puzzle on EteRNA.
Let's click the enable.
Okay. Well, that's loading up. Okay. Give me a second. This it's not recognizing my. That looks a little bit more like it. Okay, for this puzzle, this is a you only want the reporter whenever the sensor A is binding. So what I did, that's the wrong one. In this puzzle right here, you see this is the reporter sequence that goes from here to here, and it has one dangle in state 2 here. And this is the sensor A oligo that goes from here to here. So let me mark. It's a Mac. All right, so I'm lost. Instead of control, what do I have to push to highlight the command? Okay, let me see if that works. There we go. Okay, I'm going to give you a quick idea how this, when sensor A isn't present, it it turns the reporter off here. So let's go back to, go ahead and I like these ones. Okay, maybe this is good. All right, so the thing that really made this possible to knock this reporter out of here is these two internal loops here that, like you see right here, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 21, that they make this stronger, this attraction here, than what the attraction to the reporter is, and it just knocks it out. And the rest of this puzzle here, this is insignificant. This is just random. We call these static stems now. When you end up with more room than you need, then you just put that, and hopefully it folds correctly. So this could have been anything just about, and this probably still would have worked. Okay, so that's that one, and then let's go back here and see what we have left here. I gotta go to this. This is the one, the A times B over C squared DEC, that scored the highest for what I had. And I believe there were scores higher, EteRNA scores that were higher, but for some reason, I think that with the fold change with this, which I really don't understand exactly what that means. And it, you know, the thing I liked, it looks like a motorcycle, you know, kind of, vroom, vroom. We got it going there. And I was very relieved whenever, you know, after 6 days, finally I had satisfied the constraints to this, but it wasn't behaving like some of the other puzzles from board, like the two C's that are bound. Here's a C and here's a C. And state one, let me see if this will, let me paste that sequence in there. Is it still Control V? No. Command V.
Oh, no, you got it twice.
I hit it twice.
Let's do that, and then that, and then try again.
Thank,
There it is.
thank
Okay.
you. Okay. So here we go. All right, so this is what as you can see, this satisfies the constraints. But in state one, I only have one C that's binding. And I knew I was close at that point. When I got real excited with this puzzle, I can remember, is when I got A and B to come on together in one state. And it's a real balancing act. At this point, I had quit writing anything on paper. I was keeping track of this in a notepad, you know, digitally, just so, you know, when eventually the flash would crash, I would still have my points to start back at. And just to show you, I think it'll do it. If I just change one nucleotide here. Okay, we'll just watch it. It's calculating. So if you just wanted to change the freeze button, that doesn't really help. I mean, you still have to wait this amount of time. So it's still calculating. I had a PC that I used for this. It's dead now, but it lasted about 5 years. So I have a laptop. It's a little bit quicker, but I was, you know, it was taking about a minute to a minute and a half, I think, between these calculations. So it's still going. That's to change one nucleotide, you know. So, I mean, it's the same to change more than that. That was the point of the freeze button. So you hit freeze and you change your nucleotide. All right, I wasn't really doing anything. I just wanted to show you how long that took. So you can see where 6 days got away from me pretty quickly there. So, excuse me. So back to where we were. Anyway, so that was the problem with this. State 1, yeah. So finally I got it to where the C's would stay bound in all 3 states, and I was happy with that. And another thing I wanted to show you about this, I really hated this design. I had no expectations for this to do well at all because of right here. I really did not like the way that looked right there. Is it shown on the screen?
Yeah. You just blow it and stuff. Increase size. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Leonard. Yeah, right here. This looked really hanky to me here. I didn't like the way that looked at all. And there's just so many things about it. From what I had learned before, like, you know, having these 2 blues, like this is totally suboptimal, you know, from what we were looking at, you know, but I'm finding more and more that it really doesn't mind that. And sometimes it seems to like that now, you know, so I can't really tell you much more about the design of this puzzle. I wish I could. I'm not trying to be mysterious or anything like that. It just evades me, and I haven't had 6 days to put together in a row to spend on this. I did, you know, spend some time on the new OpenCRISPR puzzles when I had it. And let's see, I think that's all I got. Try to take a couple questions. Other than thanking everybody, you know, what we all do, like Regis said, this is a group effort. Everybody's very important, and you know, all the players that challenge each other and are there to give each other a kind word and be a good community. It's all works towards the end. So.